Part 3, Chapter 27 of Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Translated by Nathan Haskell Doyle. This recording is in the public domain. Read by Marianne Spiegel. If only it weren't a pity to abandon what has been done. Costs so much labor. It would be better to give up, sell out, go abroad, and hear La Belle Helene, like Nikolai Ivanovitch. The old proprietor was saying, while his intelligent face lighted up with a pleasant smile. "There now, but still you don't sell out," said Nikolai Ivanovitch Sviazhsky. "So you must be well off on the whole." "I am well off in one way, because I have a home of my own, with board and lodging. Besides, one always hopes that the peasantry will improve. But would you believe it? This drunkenness, this laziness, everything goes to destruction. No horses, no cows. They starve to death. But try to help them. Take them for farm hands, they manage to ruin you, yes, even before a justice of the peace." "But you, too, can complain to the justice of the peace," said Sviazhsky. "What? I complain? Not for all the world. All such talk shows the complaints are idle. Here, at the mill, they took their handsaw and went off. What did the justice of the peace do? Acquitted them. Your only chance is to go to the communal court, to the starshina. The starshina will have the man thrashed for you. He settles things in the old-fashioned way. If it were not for him you had better sell out, fly to the ends of the world." The proprietor was evidently trying to tease Sviazhsky, but Sviazhsky not only did not lose his temper, but was much amused. "Well, we carry on our estates without these measures," said he, smiling. "I, and Levin, and he." He pointed to the other proprietor. "Yes, but ask Mikhail Petrovitch how his affairs are getting along. Is that a rational way?" demanded the proprietor, especially accenting the word rational. "My way is very simple," said Mikhail Petrovitch. "Thank the Lord. My whole business lies in seeing that the money is ready for the autumn taxes. The muzhiks come and say, 'Batyushka, help us, Father.' Well, all these muzhiks are neighbors. I pity 'em. Well, I advance 'em the first third. Only I say, 'Remember, children, I help you, and you must help me when I need you, sowing the oats, getting in the hay, harvesting.' Now I get along with them as with my own family. To be sure, there are some among them who haven't any conscience." Levin, who knew of old about these patriarchal traditions, exchanged glances with Sviazhsky, and interrupting Mikhail Petrovitch, he said, "How would you advise?" addressing the old proprietor with the gray mustache. "How do you think one's estate ought to be managed?" "Well, manage it just as Mikhail Petrovitch does. Either give half the land to the muzhiks, or go shares with them. That is possible. But, all the same, the wealth of the country is growing less and less. Places on my lands which in the old time of serfage, under good management, produced ninefold, now produce only threefold. Emancipation has ruined Russia." Sviazhsky looked at Levin with smiling eyes, and even made a scarcely noticeable gesture to express his disdain. But Levin did not find the old proprietor's words ridiculous. He understood them better than he understood Sviazhsky. Much that the old man said in his complaint, that Russia was ruined by the emancipation, seemed to him true. For him it was novel and unanswerable. The proprietor evidently expressed his honest thought, a thought which arose, not from any desire to show an idle wit, but from the conditions of his life, which had been spent in the country, where he could see the question practically from every side. "The fact is, please to acknowledge," continued the old proprietor, who evidently wished to show that he was not an enemy of civilization, "all progress is accomplished by force alone. Take the reforms of Peter, of Catherine, of Alexander. Take European history itself. Still more so for progress in agriculture. The potato, for instance. To introduce potatoes into Russia required force. We have not always plowed with iron plows. Perhaps they have been introduced into our domains, but it required force. Now, until recently, when we had control over our serfs, we proprietors could conduct our affairs with all sorts of improvements, drawing rooms and winnowing machines and dung carts, all sorts of tools, We could introduce because we had the power, and the muzhiks at first would oppose and then would imitate us. But now, by the abrogation of serfage, they have taken away our authority, and so our estates, now that everything is reduced to the same level, must necessarily sink back to the condition of primitive barbarism. This is my view of it." "Yes, but why? If that were rational, then you could keep on with your improvements by aid of hired labor," said Sviazhsky. "We have no power. How could I, allow me to ask?" This is the working force, the chief element in the problem before us," thought Levin. "With hired men?" "Hired men will not work well, or work with good tools. Our laborers know how to do only one thing, to drink like pigs, and, when they are drunk, to ruin everything you entrust them with. They water your horses to death, destroy your best harnesses, take the tires off your wheels, and sell them to get drunk, and stick bolts into your winnowing machines so as to render them useless. Everything that is not done in their way is nauseous to them. And thus the affairs of our estates go from bad to worse. The lands are neglected and go to weeds, or else are abandoned to the muzhiks. Instead of producing millions of tchverts of wheat, you can raise only a few 100,000. The public wealth is diminishing. If they were going to free the serfs, they should have done it gradually." And he developed his own scheme of emancipation, whereby all these difficulties would have been avoided. This plan did not interest Levin, but when the gentleman had finished he returned to his first proposition, with the hope of inducing Sviazhsky to tell what he seriously thought about it. He said, addressing Sviazhsky, "It is very true that the level of our agriculture is growing lower and lower, and that in our present relations with the peasantry, it is impossible to carry on our estates rationally," he said. "I am not of that opinion," said Sviazhsky, seriously. "I only see that we are not up to the point of managing our estates, and that on the contrary, since serfage was abolished, agriculture has decayed. I argued that in those days it was very wretched and very low. We never had any machines, or good oxen, or decent supervision. We did not even know how to make up our accounts. Ask a proprietor. He could not tell you what a thing cost, or what it would bring him." "Italian bookkeeping," said the old proprietor, ironically. "Reckon all you please, and get things mixed as much as you please. There will be no profit in it." "Why get things mixed up? Your miserable flail, your Russian topchachek, will break all to pieces. My steam thresher will not break to pieces. Then your wretched nags, how are they? A puny breed that you can pull by the tails comes to nothing. But our Petcherons are vigorous horses. They are worth something. And so with everything. Our agriculture always needed to be helped forward." "Yes, but it would need some power, Nikolay Ivanovitch. Very well for you, but when one has one son at the university and several others at school, as I have, he can't afford to buy Percherons." "There are banks on purpose." "To have my last goods and chattels sold under the hammer, no thank you." "I don't agree that it is necessary or possible to lift the level of agriculture much higher," said Levin. "I am much interested in this question, and I have the means, but I cannot do anything. As for banks, I don't know whom they profit. Up to the present time, whatever I have spent on my estate has resulted only in loss. Cattle, loss. Machines, loss." "That is true," said the old proprietor with the gray mustache, laughing with hearty satisfaction. "And I am not the only man," continued Levin. "I call to mind all those who have made experiments in the rational manner. All, with few exceptions, have come out of it with losses. Will you admit that your farming is profitable?" he asked, and at that instant he detected in Sviazhsky's face that transient expression of embarrassment which he noticed when he wanted to penetrate further into the inner chambers of Sviazhsky's mind. However, the question was not entirely fair play on Levin's part. His hostess had told him at tea that they had just had a German expert up from Moscow, who, for 500 rubles fee, agreed to put the bookkeeping of the estate in order, and he found that there had been a net loss of more than 3,000 rubles. She could not remember exactly how much, but the German accountant had calculated it to within 40 kopecks. The old proprietor smiled when he heard Levin's question about the profits of Sviazhsky's management. It was evident that he knew about the state of his neighbour's finances.